I'm going to be starting writing a new book soon, and I've got about 5 books that are lined up within the realms of my consciousness that I'm going to be writing. But to actually get round to writing them, when the spirit moves me to do so, it's a very curious thing trying to work out. The book that I wrote already, that was in the making for many years, and in the last 2 or 3 years I would question and I would ask higher self, when do you want me to write this book? Because the kernel had been planted that I'm going to write a book, and I'm like, I've never wrote a book before, I don't know how to write books, I'm not sure I want to go through all this publishing stuff. I've heard it's a pain in the ass. Then also, when you've wrote the book, however long that takes, the chances are nobody will ever buy it, because nobody will ever see it, nobody will ever discover it, because you have to promote, and there's so many people promoting books out there. You see, my book now has been on Amazon, I don't know, 6 months, is it, something like that? And I'm quite sure that not a single person has bought it from just browsing Amazon. There's been 100 viewers who have bought the book, and I just, if I wanted to sell more copies, then I would have to really do a lot of work. But I'm not moved to do any work. I can't labour. I'm just not the sort of person to make Twitter or TikTok accounts or anything like that. I'm just not driven that way. Nor am I driven to be contacting any other YouTube podcasters asking if I could have a chat with them and then shamelessly promote my book on their channel. This is what people do. This is how they get book sales. Endlessly they speak about their hypothesis on as many big channels as they can. It's a business. I can't make it my business. So I'm just leaving the sales of my book, other than to you guys, because it's a personal thing between myself and you, because you know something of me. And so I communicate with you, and I have been doing so, some of you, for many years. And so those of you that are interested in what I say, well, there's 100 of you that have bought the book, and only one of you has felt it befitting to come and express your opinion of the book, what you glean from it. Not a single person has wrote an email expressing any value that they derive from it. And I wonder, in actual fact, how many people actually got through it. Because reading is quite an art that only learned people really know how to do, I'm sure. When we listen to people that have come out of universities with degrees in this, that and the other, or PhDs, they will express their knowledge of critical reading if they've studied certain subject matter. It's the ability to be able to critically read information in a fluid manner, to retain all or much of what you have read, to have the ability to extract the important parts. That's the critical reading facet of it. You extract what's important within all the literature, and then when you have archive, which is important, when you call upon that, then it's like fractals open up into all the rest of the things. It's a bit like if you can remember one facet of any dream, And then you go, I had a dream last night, and what was it about? Oh, it was about this. Yeah, there's a giant squid chasing me down the market square. And I'm like, wow, that's bizarre. Oh, why was it chasing me? What happened in the end? And then all of a sudden things start to come. And so it's kind of like having memes which pertain to a great deal of knowledge. Tiny little things that pertain to a whole world pertaining to themselves. So, how many of you, I mean, I do know that some of you who I have spoken to tell me that you're not good at remembering, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, I think you said this or I think you said that, and it's kind of like, wow. I've always been aghast at the inability of people's minds to be able to retain information. Some do it, others don't. It's the human being. And I suppose those that can do it, they go on to be more successful, don't they? It stands to reason if they can archive, actually remember an enormous amount of information, then they can use that information, then they can articulate that information, then they can impress people with their knowledge and their memory and how they've structured things together, things like that. But those people with minds that don't work like that, you ask them something and they go, and that's all you get from them, because there's nothing in here. It's all a mumbo jumbo. It's just a mash, and barely there's anything that's been saved in any case. And so how many of you are like that? I know some of you have told me that you struggle to remember and you can't read books because there's no point, because your mind isn't still enough. Like this friend of mine in the gym, who I've been helping with his psychological issues, I asked him if he reads. He says, no, I can't read. If I read one line, I'll just forget it instantly. In actual fact, I won't even remember it, because there's too much incessant looping going on within his mind. The incessant insecurities that many people with anxiety and psychological issues have. They can't concentrate. Why can't they concentrate? Because their mind is too busy being afraid. It's too busy being under threat. It's awash with cortisol. The mind is awash with the fear hormone, cortisol. And so it's fear. And the only thing that's important to a fear-based mind is survival. And so they're only going to be able to apply themselves to very, very rudimentary things. Like, I've got to go to the job, otherwise I'll get the sack. What sort of jobs will they do? Oh, they'll pack shelves in a supermarket, they'll work on a production line in a factory, or something very, very simple and mundane that doesn't need any level of consideration. Because if there's a problem, then they're not the boys. They have to call the shop floor manager. They're the one that thinks and solves problems, yeah? So there's a vast multitude of people like that. And there's only a very, very select few which can actually think and articulate. So when we look on YouTube and we see the same old faces, I don't know how many people there are out there, but I would think that probably there's no more than 100. No more than 100 who millions of people know. The Candice Owens, the Ben Shapiro's, the Jordan Petersons, the Sam Harris's, the Richard Dawkins, the Joe Rogans, these sort of people whom millions watch. And how many obscurities are there that nobody ever really remembers? They don't make much of an impression on anyone, and nobody watches them consistently. And so, the human being is very, very varied indeed. And there are so many reasons as to why. So this book that I'm going to be writing, speaking about how there are many souls, stroke spirits, participating in our earth sojourns. Now, I've read a lot of literature, spiritual literature, religious literature, and all of these literatures, they speak about the soul and they make reference to spirit, but invariably they're very, very opaque. There's nothing that's really transparent. There's nothing that's really explained. The closest I've read is in the Bible when it discerns the difference between a soul and a spirit. Because somebody has done that. A scholar has actually done that because it's been very important to them, because the Bible is very important to many people. So they read and they highlight certain bits, and then they pull bits out, and they save those on another sheet, and then they look at what's been said in relation to the soul, because the Bible never explained what the soul is. Just different people have said different things about the soul, and so there's kind of like a general consensus has been born that the soul is kind of like this thing that possesses the human being, and some people say it leaves and it continues to exist when the human being body dies. Other people don't agree with that, and personally I'm an advocate for not agreeing with that, because I can't think why it would be necessary, and it's very complicated, and I'll explain this in my book as to why that couldn't possibly happen. And when people say, oh well, it's obvious that the soul survives because when people have near-death experiences, exactly, they've had near-death experiences. They haven't in actual fact died. You see, this is the thing, because their consciousness has continued, and their consciousness has, been subject to varying chemicals which the mind produces, DMT, this, that and the other, and then when the consciousness comes back to the body, and the sentience comes back, and the person opens their eyes and goes, fuck, and the doctors say, oh, you died, for about 20 seconds or 10 seconds, you flatlined. But you see, they are saying that the person died because there was no heartbeat. Well, the brain doesn't die. It takes about 3 minutes before the brain is damaged, and this is why specialists will tell you that if you stop breathing for 3 minutes or more, then you'll be brain damaged. You'll be pretty well a cabbage, because the oxygen was depleted in your brain, and it couldn't function beyond 2-3 minutes, and so it became very, very damaged. And there's lots of stories about this. I read one story on one occasion where this invalid person in a wheelchair was left unattended by a doc, and the wheelchair rolled into the dock. They got this person out miraculously, who knows how, after about, I think it was something like, maybe 8 minutes or 12 minutes, and the person made a pretty remarkable recovery. And they're saying that, well, because the water was freezing, then the mind and body closed down, which preserved the brain cells. It instantly shocked the body into closing down, and because the body had completely closed down, and it was only operating vital organs, say like the heart beating, maybe even the heart wasn't beating, but there was oxygen enough still in the body and brain for this person to survive brain damage. Now, of course, there's probably millions of cases where this didn't happen, so maybe it was a fluke, but things like that can happen. But generally, if a brain is without oxygen for about 2 or 3 minutes, then the person will be better off dead rather than living. And so that's why people say that they saw the afterlife and this, that and the other. Well, I'm not an adherent to them seeing the afterlife. I'm an adherent to their brain producing something. And, I've had lots of these spiritual experiences. But every one of them, as far as I'm concerned, pertains to consciousness, to the brain. Even when we supposedly leave the body, I'm not sure that anything leaves the body at all. I haven't been absolutely convinced by that, because I haven't been in a realm which I would consider to be as real as this variety, where I could categorically say, I'm out of my body's down there, I can see my body, I'm not thinking from my body, I'm thinking from outside the body. And so, that's peculiar, looking at me there. Am I dead? I look pretty, motionless. I don't know whether I'm breathing or anything like that. But anyway, I'm out of the body. Maybe I'll go back in the body, maybe I won't. But what's going on around here? Well, it seems pretty real to me. It seems pretty kosher. No, when I've been out in the astral, most occasions they're very grainy, very dark, and, very dreamlike, but there was a few occasions which were absolutely pristine, crystal clear, and it was like I am now. And I remembered when I was there, I'm looking around thinking, wow, this is incredible, it's absolutely like real life. What can I take back? Can I take something back? And so that happened there, but we have to question the reality of being out of the body, because I've had scenarios inside consciousness with absolutely the pristinest of visions, as if my eyes were open in everyday life. The colour, the clarity, the realness of being there in consciousness is absolutely, more real than real, so to speak. And yet I woke up in the body. And so it's very, very difficult when we're speaking about these things. And I'm going to be hypothesizing what I consider this excursion to consist of. And what I'm going to be saying is, people, that this experience doesn't just pertain to two souls or one. You see, in the Bible, it's suggested or stated that there's one soul. But then we get writers like Goethe, who wrote Faust. And Faust was cursed because he said that, alas, there are two souls dwelling within my breast, both tearing at each other. And so this is the indecision that we have, isn't it? Why do we have this indecision? Shall I try to sleep with my neighbour's wife or not? And then you lie in bed sweating and dreaming and, oh my goodness, what on earth is going on? Please, I've got a family, I've got kids, the last thing I want to do is have an affair with my neighbour's wife, and any number of things could happen. Please, just go away, leave me alone. What is this level of demonic possession? But we have these souls within our breast, and they do torment us and they do tear at us. And so we ask ourselves, well, how is this? People could say, well, no, one was the devil. One was the devil. The devil was the one trying to get you to copulate with your neighbour's wife. But if that's the case, then the devil resides within us. And this is one of the things that I'm always saying. You can't just have one thing residing within you, because if there was only one thing residing within you, then that wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't make any rational sense. You see, in view of the fact that the Bible tells us that we are fallen creatures, and we are disgusting, we are vile, and we will suffer, like slithering around on our stomachs like the serpent, eating dust all their lives. And women will cry out in pain every time they give birth. A man will labour, breaking his back under the sun. Why? Because Adam and Eve ate from the forbidden tree. What sort of evil bullshit was that? And so God created the wonderful Adam and Eve, though the apple of his eye. And then because they wronged him, they did something that he told them that they couldn't. Isn't it like this, people? If you've got children, very, very young children, and you leave a cookie jar in the room with them unattended, and you leave them there for some time, several hours, so they're very, very hungry, and increasingly their hunger builds up, and the voices inside their minds start telling them that, well, you can satiate this hunger, there's cookies in that jar over there. Yeah, but my mum told me not to. Yeah, well, your mum's not here at the moment, is she? She'll probably never know. You wipe the crumbs off your mouth, you be careful. Will you be savvy? Okay, so they're just over there, and you go, oh, fuck it, and you go and eat from the cookie jar, don't you? This is a regular thing that's happened a gazillion times in life, and so it's exactly the same as the silly story in the Garden of Eden, where God says, God puts this forbidden tree in the fucking garden as a level of temptation. Why do that? Why do that, God? Oh, God wanted to test the integrity. Well, didn't God make Adam and Eve perfect? So they must have been born perfect then. So why would they err? Why would they sin if you made them? None of it makes sense. None of it. It's a head fuck from the beginning to the end. This is why you have, Jordan Peterson and Jonathan Pageau and Jean Verouk and all these sorts of people. About the Bible. It just doesn't make sense. It was written by people that weren't particularly bright at thinking, and they contradicted themselves in so many ways. But because you idiots, although you think you're brilliant and you think you've got IQs of 150, you're complete fucking idiots because you think it was written by God. Who the fuck? And then when you asked what sort of a God was it, well, he's a motherfucking heinous fucking evil cunt. That's what sort of a God. And yet you spend all your life, involved in this. Some people can say, oh, you spend all your life talking about Jordan Peterson and, all this biblical stuff. Well, I'm looking at the world from a psychoanalytical perspective because I find that the human being, the human consciousness, exceedingly interesting and bewildering. Much like Peterson and others do, but they've gone an extra mile in, having some sort of deep adherence to that which is written in the Bible, whereas I don't. I dismiss it all as very, very, successful, as it turns out, attempts at manipulating human consciousness, and very mediocre attempts at imparting basic human psychology onto the ignorant masses at the time. That's the difference between me and Peterson. And so when we look at the two souls in our breasts, people, be it polarities, be it good and be it evil. Okay, well that settles that, doesn't it? That makes that perfectly plain. We can't go any further than that. That's it. If we have bad thoughts in our minds, then they're in our minds. We can't be saying, oh, the devil put them in, because if the devil put them in, well, why didn't God prevent that from happening? Why didn't God put all wonderful things in our mind? Why did God just allow this evil one, to torture us, so we torture ourselves, and all these different sorts of stuff? It just gets absurd until you come back to basic, humanism. You go, well, this is the nature of the human being. This is the nature of the cosmos. Look around you, all these animals, they eat each other. And, they do, atrocious things to one another. And so we're no different. We've done absolutely abominable things to people forever and a day. And we'll continue to do it forever and a day. The only reason we're not doing it mostly today is because we're too scared to, due to the ramifications. So evil absolutely is born. So we absolutely do have two souls dwelling in our breast. So that's rudimentary, and it can be followed through logically, because we can say in this modern day now, 200 years after Goethe wrote his Faust, we can say, well, scientists have told us now that when we cut this corpus callosum, which is the the communication system between the two hemispheres of our brain, then the brains think and operate entirely independently, because there is no communication between the two once the corpus callosum has been severed. So therefore we can absolutely say, well, that makes perfect sense, because the two souls dwelling in my breast derive from the two hemispheres in my brain. So the two brains have two souls. So there's a soul each side, and one soul likes left brain shit, and the other soul likes the right brain shit, and this is why we get conflicted. And I'm, greatly conflicted with lots of things in life, because I'm a Libra. You see, on the scales, I'm balancing this way and I'm balancing that way, and I suppose constantly striving for balance, equanimity, equilibrium, and if I go out of balance, then it's kind of like the planets are out of line, and the planets have to come back in line before I come back in balance, these sort of things. And so hence supercilious, and then Mr. Nice Guy, whatever fucking shape and form that comes in with the Awake and Brave entourage. So we've got two souls dwelling in the breast, but I'm taking it further. Now this is the question I'm asking you people. How many of you consider that this could be a possibility? I haven't read anything in the thousands of books that I've read, and hundreds of thousands of videos that I've listened to. I haven't read anybody state something like there's loads of souls dwelling in us, and this is what I think they are and how they operate. No. So either I'm absolutely fucking a lunatic, or I'm thinking along lines that nobody has ever bothered to pursue before. And if I'm wrong, I'd love to hear about how I'm wrong, and anybody point me in the right direction of people who have already spoke or written about this stuff. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to go and look. There's been speak about one soul forever. Then in more modern times, listen people, listen very carefully here, in more modern times, i.e. 150 years ago with the Goethe book Faust, then speaking about two souls dwelling in my breast, and many writers have used that phraseology, because many people, of course, they've known we're conflicted. It's a no-brainer. It's very, very rudimentary psychology. So there's no fucking gold, purple hearts or fucking MBEs handed out for that. It's just elementary, a fucking kindergarten kid could work that one out. Mum, why is it that I think about I want to eat some cookies when you've told me not to? Yeah, simple. So, what I'm saying here is, let's take it further. Now, I've said that there has to be more than one soul, or spirit. It's difficult to discern. Let's just say soul at this moment in time. Now, I have a soul which carries the body to the gym, and it's been doing that ever since I was 15 years old. So that soul is very, very powerful, very determined. Then I have a soul that makes videos and imparts information. I've been doing this now for 15 years. It's very, very powerful. Then I have a soul which likes to go and do cardiovascular work, like a lot of walking, or used to do a lot of running, swimming, but these days I do cycling, just to get out and get that part of the body, because the breath is exceedingly important. And if you don't get a very deep and thorough blast of oxygen into your body on a regular basis, then your body will atrophy. Your mind will atrophy, because it's the oxygen that keeps it all alive and keeps it vital. And if you're just taking very shallow breaths and you're never breathing deeply, your body's never getting flushed out with oxygen. You don't know you're fucking born, people. I'm telling you, you don't know you're fucking born. So all of you sedentary people out there that have never done a fucking stroke of cardiovascular exercise in your lives, you are not born. You are in actual fact the living dead, because you don't know what it's like to get that spirit inside. the inspiration, the expiration, the inspiring, all this different sort of stuff. You know what? The word hermetica, it means to be inspired. So when Hermes Trismegistus supposedly wrote the principles of the cosmos, which were inspired by his God consciousness, his cosmic consciousness, hermetics, Hermes, you see? And so the breath is exceedingly important. And when I made this little video about the importance of the breath, oh goodness me, barely got any views and no comments and fucking 2 thumbs up. Absolutely shocking, because the vast majority of you are shocking, because you don't know actually what it is to live. You've never considered these things. You've never considered that when your heart and your lungs and your body are under massive duress, you've probably never ever been there. But me, because I was a world-class fighter and fought and represented my country against the whole world, and I used to enter full contact global competitions, and so I put my body through a massive amount of duress, and so I knew on a everyday basis what it felt like to be absolutely alive and vital. And you go into a different dimension of consciousness, people, and it's the difference of having the spark of life and not, because you're generating, you're winding up the dynamo which makes the light shine brighter. That's what you're doing. So then I have a soul which needs to express itself through song, and I've been singing all of my life. I don't ever remember a day when I wasn't singing. Then there's obviously a soul which wants to be a musician, because to play an instrument, to accompany myself with the singing, is a double bonus. It's a double whammy. It's incredible to be able to do that. And when we listen to music, we get touched, don't we? We get moved. We get inspired. We go, my God, is that an angel singing that song? Moving me, making me tingle, making me cry, making me have all different sorts of emotions. There's something going on, isn't there? It's soul, people, and that's why they call it soul music. I'm going to write a list of all of the souls that I have. They're all very, very powerful. Now, another one which was exceedingly powerful, it seems to be redundant now. It may have vacated because it realised that at my time of life, there's no point in it hanging around. When I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, my soul said to themselves, we want to do one big expedition. It needs to be very, very powerful. I will need to put my life on the line, because it's going to need to be so big that I'm going to be satiated. We are going to be satiated to hang up our adventurous spirit, or say goodbye, shake hands with the adventurous spirit, because my adventurous spirit has took me all around the world and showed me an absolutely wonderful, incredible time. But when I decided that I've lived too dangerously, I'm getting a bit old now to be climbing mountains and doing all this reckless stuff that I always used to do. I was absolutely invincible as a younger person, so incredibly strong, always stronger than 10 men. And even today, when I'm in the gym, when I'm working out, I can do 50 full dips on a dip bar. And the most I've ever seen any fucking person half my age and full of muscles do is 15 before they're all burnt and they can't do any more. I do more than 3 times that, people. And I'm often at least twice their age, maybe 3 times their age. So there's a very, very powerful spirit in me. There's very, very powerful spirits in many, many regions. And so the adventurous one now, well, if it has vacated, then I will never travel the world again. In actual fact, the only thing that I am motivated to do, people have asked me, oh, come to Thailand or come to Australia, or I've been all these places. I've done all that shit, people. I've done all that shit. Now, the only thing that I'll be interested in doing is flying for like 3 hours maximum on a flight down to the Algarve again. And I'd spend several months there, in that haunt where I was before, because that's the most beautiful, incredible part of the world. So, I think my sense of adventure maybe just like, a fraction of what it was before. Maybe that isn't even adventurous. Maybe that's just fucking common old garden stuff. It's like when people go on holiday. Oh, shall we go on holiday, pet? They go on holiday for 2 weeks, but I'd go for like 2 or 3 months or 6 months or something. I don't know. So basically, it's not really much of a central adventure. And, I wouldn't be going into the sea. I only, even in the height of the summer, go in the sea like 2 or 3 times a year. I'm just not interested in that anymore. I just love walking with my shorts on, with my legs up to my knees in the water, and, feeling the sand on my toes, between my toes, and just looking and all this sort of different sort of stuff. There's lots of things I just don't need to do anymore. I've been in the oceans millions of times all over the fucking world. And it's kind of like, well, I don't want to get all sticky. When you get in the salt and you get sticky, then when you're walking and your legs start chafing and getting sore. Well, if I'm walking 10 miles, I don't want that. So I think it's out of the fucking water, Aaron. Be savvy about this. But then, of course, if you've gone in the water and you've got all the salt over your skin, then you're gonna, feel the sun even more. So there's lots of reasons. But getting back to these souls, people, we have to ask ourselves, who the fuck is it? What the fuck is it? What the fuck is it that's took me all around the world? What the fuck is it that keeps me walking up and down this fucking road, going to the gym, and putting this level of exertion and expenditure of energy, life force into it? What is it that wants me to keep, very, very strong and vital? I'm scheduled to live to be 93 years old. And so my spirit's like, listen, dude, if you're going to live to 93 years fucking old, then you best get to that gym almost every day of your fucking life. Because look around you, people that don't do that don't last that fucking long, invariably. So maybe that's the reason. Because free will, talk about free will, I don't know, I don't have any free will. I don't have any free will when my mind tells me to learn a particular song. I don't have any free will when my mind tells me, to put my fucking swim shorts on in the heart of winter when it's -2 or 3 and go cycling for 8 miles. Doing some sort of Wim Hof fucking freezing cold therapy shit. I don't know who the fuck fucking tells me to do that. And then the body's feeling the pain, and I'm like, this is pretty fucked up. Yeah, it's fucked up. Well, why are you doing it then? I don't know. Fucking some cunt in here is fucking telling me to do it. And that's about how it is, isn't it? Honestly, people, we can't say that we do things for our own volition. And I was listening to Jordan Peterson last night with one of his Sam Harris talks. And, Sam Harris is saying something to Peterson, and then, Peterson's saying, look, no, you can't say that because we don't really know what the agency is that makes us do anything. And then someone said, from the crowd, and he went, no, seriously, now Peterson gets, all getting angry. You can't say that, you don't know that, you don't know anything about that. There's barely a single one of us that ever could attribute any of our actions to something that we actually had a design about. Why do we do any of this stuff? We don't know why we do this stuff. Why am I saying this? Why am I doing this? We don't know. We just can't say it's too complicated. It's only the fool that will think they know any fucking thing for certain about this life. So why do I have this soul that gets very, very animated and very, very serious about delivering something? Why is it so important? Why does it feel it's so important to convey something to you? Who the fuck are you? 200 of you, 100 of you watch this fucking video. Who the fuck are you? can't work this shit out, people.
Because I was taking notes while I was
But when we look at what we're motivated to do, and we write these spirits down, souls down, and we see how many we've got. Well, off the top of my head, I can reel out 5 very, very powerful ones. But later when I sit down and contemplate this, I'm pretty sure that I can come up with another 10 or 15 agencies within me which have been with me for many, many years. And the more I start to contemplate that, I'll go, fucking hell, there's another one. The one that, oh, okay, here's another one. The one that likes my apartment or anywhere I live to be meticulously clean in order. There's a very, very orderly, kind of like bordering OCD, only it isn't obsessive and compulsive. It's just because my soul particularly likes it that way. And so, because it likes it that way, it has to have it that way. It has to have it just so. And so that one. Then, what about the one which brings nature into my home? Now, all through my life, I've been collecting artifacts of the natural world, and I just bring them into my home. You know, some of you would do that. You pick up a bit of driftwood, you pick up a few polished stones, you pick up some seashells, you bring them into your home because they're memories of the holiday or the experience. But I do it for a different reason. I do it because I'm bringing in the outside into the inside. I'm bringing the as above, so below as above. I'm engaging in everything, and so I plaster all my walls with leaves, and I create the green man, and I'm bringing in all different sorts of wooden and stone artifacts and plants and everything like that. And I look around, and my mate says to me when he comes in, you know, Mr. Nobody, he says, you're possessed by the green man. I'm like, I'm not possessed by the green man. I am the fucking green man. The green man is an idea. The green man is a spirit. And anybody who's fucking wise would open the door to the green man's spirit and allow them to come in and partake in their lives, because it's a very, very healthy facet of our lives. That guy that just went by on his bike, I'm going to speak about him. I'll speak about him when I come out of the gym. Just the peculiarities of people, you know, fucking bizarre. Anyway, so I don't digress, I won't go into that now. Stay on track. So, I'm pretty sure that, you know, I will probably have 20 major prominent souls, you know, which I am aware, and then I'll start to discover other ones that kind of like, oh, yeah, I fucking do that, I fucking do this, what makes me do that and the other, and all these sort of things. People, as an exercise, if you ever did this, then you will become very, very astute in your own psychology, and you will then start to be very astute in other people's psychology. Now, that guy that just cycled by, I talk to him because I see him quite often in the gym, and because I'm a very observant person, I notice things about him, and I ask him why he does these things, because they're fucking bizarre. And he says to me the other day, because he's started to feel a little bit persecuted, a little bit intimidated, a little bit vulnerable, because I'm noticing stuff about him. As soon as he goes into the changing rooms, I see that he's got a scratch on the top of his head, and it's about that big, so it's not fucking small. And I'm like, you've been falling off your fucking bike again? I said, well, that couldn't have happened, because you always wear your fucking your crash helmet, and you fucking, you know, you look like you're going into battle every fucking time you get on your bike. Because he's like, oh, you don't know, do you? You know, it's one of these, fucking riddled with fear. Anyway, yeah, so the souls that he has. So I can look in and see what spirits he has, what fucking souls dwelling in him. Because this body isn't just a fucking individuated thing, people. This body is nothing. This body is just an empty fucking vessel until soul comes along, until spirit partakes and animates it, and, you know, all these different souls come along for the ride. Because You know, if you look around, then some people you know will go, fucked. Well, my mate just got a beer drinking fucking soul and a pizza eating soul and a lazy cunt ass fucking soul. Yeah, that's about the limit of many people. How many people are really, really driven? I was watching a fucking awesome movie last night called The Wolf of Wall Street with Leonardo DiCaprio. Many of you will have seen that film. It's the first time I saw it. My daughter recommended it to me. Fucking incredible, amazing. But when you look at people, how they can get driven, and you see, it wasn't always the case, because when he was interviewing people, he's the one that inspired them. He's the one that allowed them to allow themselves to be open for inspiration. You see, because they all say, if it wasn't for you, I would still be fucking cleaning the toilets out at McDonald's or something like that. But what the protagonist did, what Caprio did, he inspired people. He gave them belief, he gave them self-respect, he gave them power. And then so they opened themselves up and took a part of DiCaprio's power, or they just opened themselves up and the spirit came in and saw the opportunity. A soul came in, saw the opportunity, said, oh okay, this person's ready, I'll go in because I'm a go-getter, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I want to live the high life, and I want to have sex with loads of women, and I want to fucking do cocaine and all these different sorts of things. So they all got involved in that, didn't they? And so people is very, very complex, and it's very incredible when we start to look at what's going on here. If you ever get the time, but if you don't get the time, because you're trapped and your mind's in prison and it's all in fucking chains and bondage, and all you do is can sit on the fucking train each day eating your fucking sandwich and nibbling your fucking Kit Kat with your headset in where you don't look at anybody, and then you go and do your stupid fucking job in a call centre or whatever you're fucking doing, right? If you've never contemplated any of the bigger things in life, you're dead, aren't you? You're fucking dead. Tell me you're a dead fucker. Tell me, yeah, I'm one of these dead cunts. You know, I watch your videos because they're weird and they're out there. But me, I don't do nothing. I'm a dead cunt. And I've only got two souls. One is just a fucking fat cunt soul, and the other one's just a scared cunt soul. So tell me, people. Or tell me the opposite. Tell me how you travel the world, and how you own your own businesses, and how you become pop stars and fucking famous cunts and all this. Tell me that. Yeah, you're gonna tell me. Come on, tell me.